Cary and Jim, with no further ado, it's a very simple question. Could you tell us why you all are big?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ethan. I'm happy to be here tonight to share why I'm big, but I'll begin by telling how I came to be big. So last August 2020, as you mentioned, I was attending the Community Foundation's Adaptive Philanthropy Series webinar. And in honor of Black Philanthropy Month, there was discussion on a variety of issues around Black philanthropy. And then, and no one knew this was coming, the Black Investments in Greensboro Equity Fund was announced. And there was so much joy and excitement in the Zoom room. And it was just really thrilling to be part of that and to hear it announced for the first time. So I came straight to Jim and told him about what I had just heard, because we've been actively looking for most effective ways to be allies. And it was so clear that big was it. So today we are big because, first, big is Black led. Second, big is an endowment. So inequity has persisted for a long time, and achieving equity will not happen quickly. This is a long-term endeavor. So a clear strategy and careful forethought are needed, and it's abundantly clear that both have been a part of planning and executing big. Third, education and healthcare, two of the initial investment areas for big, align with our philanthropic priorities. And then fourth and lastly, the fund is held by the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro. We have a long and trusting relationship with the Community Foundation, so we know the fund will be well managed, and this gives us the confidence that big will be successful. So big checked all the boxes for us in taking wise action toward equity. I'm grateful for big and for the opportunity to be part of it. And that's all I'll say, and I'll pass it on to Jim.
Well, I'm grateful Cary came to find me that day. And so Cary did a great job of speaking very specifically about the big fund. So I'll speak a little bit more generally, and I'll deviate from my sort of normal, very data-based comfort zone. And I'm going to tell a story. So this story involves myself and two of my white male college buddies. And we were driving around in Tony's beat up 1979 Chevy Camaro. I don't know exactly what we were doing, having a good time. And we were noticing this odd phenomenon, which is every corner we come to, there was a police car. And we were commenting on that, and we we're like, it's kind of getting to be a little bit uncanny. And then two of those police cars came along behind us and started sort of matching every turn that we did. And so it kind of, like, we think these police cars are here for us, you know, and for us, this was a unique experience. So eventually the lights went on behind us, and we were like, okay, they really are here for us. So we pulled over, and it turns out that we matched the description for a group of individuals that had committed a bank robbery in a nearby town. So, you know, everything's fairly serious, you know, and the one cop comes up to the car, and, you know, there's another one who's covering him, and he asks us to get out of the car. Asks us very politely, and we get out of the car, and he looks in the back seat, and I don't know why it was there, but there's this toy gun, squirt gun back there. And it was black, and it didn't look particularly real, but like in the indirect light, looking through the window down on the floor, you know, you could understand why it may not be clear that it was a toy. And he goes, "What's that in the back seat?" And my friend Tony, who's a really sweet guy and not known for his forethought, goes, "Oh, it's just a squirt gun. Don't worry, I'll get it for you. I'll show you." So Tony goes to reach in there, and the officer is like, "Sir, step away from the car. Do not put your hands on the object." And Tony goes, "Oh no, I don't mind. I'll get it for you." And so now we're all screaming at Tony, and we're all, and the other officer has his hand on his gun, and it's getting quite scary. And Tony never does get it. He's like, "No, really, I don't mind. And he reaches in, grabs this toy gun, swings his arm out, and hands it to the police officer, who just shakes his head and takes it, and then gives Tony a firm but polite lecture on how he might make smarter choices in the future when dealing with the police. And we move on from there to where they interview us, they ask us questions, all very polite, eventually determine that we're not who they're looking for. They very sincerely apologize for any inconvenience. So for a while after that, this was a very interesting and even a funny story, somewhat at poor Tony's expense, that I would tell quite often at gatherings and such. And that's all it was for a while. And then as my cultural awareness grew, I began to realize this isn't the story that I think it is. And in reality, this is a story about how that went very differently for me and my friends than it very likely would have for other people, simply based on the way we look, how we were born. And that's just one example of so many ways in everyday life, both little ways and big ways and simple ways and systemic ways, that life goes differently for us as heterosexual white men in society than it does for other people. So I'm left with that. And I have to ask myself, as somebody who believes strongly in equity and justice, what do I do with that? And I recognize that I can't choose not to have white privilege. It is simply unjustly bestowed upon me by society. But I can choose to wield the fruits of that privilege, my voice, my money, my time, to work towards a world in which it no longer exists. And so the Big Equity Fund is part of our effort along those lines.